It's so scary getting ready for a show because you'll have a day where you start to look, you're too small, and then you'll look at like Nick Walker or something, and you're like, oh my God. And I remember I was getting ready for my first show, and people were like, you're going to win. And I was like, I don't think. And then you show up and you dummy everybody, but it's like, you really don't know. When you're getting ready, you really don't fucking know.
The whole thing's a mindfuck. I think like whatever body dysmorphia you have prior to bodybuilding, it just exacerbates, especially as you get closer to competition, because you think you're small.
Yeah.
You think you're just shrinking. And what's really happening is, yes, theoretically you're way less.
Yeah.
But you just look diced but it's a big mindfuck. And especially when you're looking at other competitors.
Yeah.
You're always comparing.
Always compare. Like yesterday, so I had to do hams, so I went to Retro Fitness instead of Jersey Barbell.
Okay.
And there's barely anybody big in there. And then you see one guy, and he was doing lunges with 315. I was like, fuck, that guy's in good shape.
Yeah.
And he looked in good shape, but he doesn't have, there's so much to bodybuilding where it's like the vascularity, the cuts, the shred, the tightness of the skin. Like somebody could have a good frame and not know how to put it all together. So it's insane to watch it. And I love just showing my wife, I'm like, look, she's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You look the same. Your skin's tighter.
Yeah, women don't care. Homosexuals love this.
Yeah.
And I found that
Ian and Adam are hard right now watching both of us.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Black women and Hispanic women typically love it. Women over the age of 50 will hit me up too.
Yeah.
Would
you? How old would you go?
If money's not a factor, like
money. Why? Who's paying who? You got to pay these old ladies?
No. I mean, like if they have like money in their bank account, like like if they're rich. I'm saying.
Oh,
right, yeah, because like
that matters to you.
No, but like there's I gotta be something out of it. What am I getting out of it?
Old lady box, man.
Oh my, for what?
They're very experienced. They won't get pregnant because everything inside is dead. So you can just finish
positive
inside.
And a negative. Everything inside them is dead. That's negative, and the positive, I can't get them pregnant, but it's still disgusting.
Really?
I don't know,
dude. I'm never so turned on. What do you guys think of old ladies?
They scare me.
Yeah, Adam.
If they're good looking, they're good looking, right?
Yeah.
Well, these guys are 20. Old for them is 25.
You think they just have VR sex with AI robots?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Have you guys had AI sex yet?
Not yet. I don't have a VR headset.
Would you have VR sex, or is that weird?
I would do it if I had the tools. Yeah.
Would you have VR sex?
VR sex? Nah, I could get the real thing. Why would
I get it. But so you wouldn't go over 40?
I wouldn't go over 40.
But 40's hot to you. 40's different than a 25-year-old.
Here's the thing, though. 40, you have the experience. There's this attitude like I don't give a shit anymore, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, life is what it is.
Like they'll fart on you.
I don't know about that. They fart on you?
Yeah. Old ladies don't care.
Oh.
My wife farts on the rag.
Does your wife fart?
Yeah.
Oh.
She'll be like, sorry.
Is that what I have to look forward to?
You're not going to keep going? She'll say that. You're not going to keep going? I'm like, I'll keep going.
Is it queef or fart or both?
Well, a fart usually comes from the ass, and queef comes from the inside.
Okay. I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
It's a different thing. We went way off track here because sex drive is. I took a double dose of C today. Vitamin C.
Okay.
You know what that is?
Vitamin C.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
Cialis.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
So
I take it for daily use. And then my wife and I went to couples therapy, and she goes, you want to have sex? And I'm like, I got to unclog the toilet.
Yeah.
So I bought this tool. By the way, Jews are not supposed to be good at doing home shit.
Never, yeah.
If your toilet's clogged, you call somebody or fix it.
Oh, I don't fix it. I look like I could fix it, but I call somebody.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not spending $250. We're barely scraping by.
Yeah.
I had to dole out like $2,200 for my kids' gymnastics yesterday. So I ordered on Amazon. First of all, I went on YouTube and watched these videos because I'm trying to plunge a thing. It won't go down. And I'm thinking, I don't know what's down there. So I ordered this power gun for $39. You charge it, you put it in, it loads up with air, then you go, and I did that about 8 times, and I'm like, oh, it's not working. Then I flushed the toilet. It's working. I fixed a toilet. Jews are not supposed to be able to fix toilets. Old school Jews used to.
Yeah, are you good at that stuff, though? Are you good at, like, watching videos and,
I mean, I'm starting to. And then I'm thinking maybe plumbers will start to go out of work because it's like YouTube shows you how to do everything.
Everything. Well, people are just lazy, though. That's the thing.
Okay, here's a question that I have.
Okay.
I may meet with a posing coach on Saturday.
Okay.
And I want to know, because I was like, hey, dude, I heard great things about you. He's like, I live in PA, but I'll be in Jersey Saturday at this powerhouse gym. So I want you to take a look at this guy and let me know what you think. Will you guys search him on Instagram, please?
Wait, I spaced that. There's a posing coach, you said?
As a posing coach.
Okay.
And this guy's done a ton of shows. It's at Rusty_Jeffers. Now, he's in great shape, but his mustache looks like he's one of the guys from the Police Academy movie when they go into the Blue Oyster.
Yeah.
You know, the scene where they break into the gay bar? Like, he's got one of those old school gay mustaches. No judgment. I'm just saying. But this guy looks, I mean, take a look at this guy.
Holy shit, you aren't kidding.
Yeah. I mean,
that mustache should win.
Dude, that is a phenomenal physique.
Yeah. That is great. How old is this guy?
He's old. But I've seen like show footage of him, and they announce him, and they go before they announce him. They go, this guy always shows up in great shape.
He's got a great physique.
Yeah, that's really solid symmetry, proportion, size, conditioning. I mean, the guy comes in. There's no weak points on his physique.
What is you have any idea how old of a guy he is?
I mean, what do you think he is? He's over 50 for sure.
Over 50, yeah. But I mean, with the white beard, it's hard to tell, but...
Can you see it?
Wow,
61 years
61.
old. I mean, guy looks phenomenal.
That's 61. I'll take that at 40. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So I was thinking I'd go see this guy. I don't know how much a posing coach goes for.
I don't know, but it's one of the most important. It's one of the most overlooked things too, because people are like, "Oh, well, I'm jacked and I have the definition," but if you can't pose and show off the muscle that you've gained, it's worthless.
A lot of it is holding the poses too. Poses wind people. I remember seeing people like
out of breath. Oh yeah.
And you'll cramp up if you don't know what you're doing, and it's it's not an easy thing.
Oh, you're holding the pose, and because you're squeezing that muscle the entire time, hoping that behind you when you're doing a lat pose, it's popping the way you want it to.
Yeah.
In your head, you're thinking I hope this is working. You're squeezing. You're depleted. People are looking at you. It's there's a lot going on there, and it's one of the most overlooked things in bodybuilding. And I've seen people with great physiques, and they do a pose. And I'm like, dude, you're not. I don't see anything.
Yeah.
And they have it, and that's the worst, when you actually have it and you can't get anything out of it. So
it's such a odd sport where it's like, I have to hire a posing coach, and then I have to go shop for my posing trunks.
Yeah.
And I just joined the NPC last week, which is pretty exciting. You got to pay the dues for the National Physique Committee.
Yeah.
And then you got to pay to go into the show. And here's what I don't know: what if I want to compete in multiple entries? You know what I mean? What if I want to do classic, open, over 50?
I think that's frowned upon because I think
No, I think you could do it. I see guys come home with 6 gold medals from a show.
So, and here's the thing: I know a lot about bodybuilding, not everything. From what I hear, maybe people can let me know, but when people compete in if they can't compete in the open, the top bodybuilding shows, and then they do men's physique, a lot of times it's looked at down upon because oh, you couldn't make it at the top, so you're doing men's physique where you don't have to do legs or whatever. So I'm saying sometimes it gets, they shit on it because they're you're doing a lower competition after you've failed at the top one.
Yeah, but do you think? I mean, I think classic and open are both respected
for sure. Yeah. No, that's the thing. But I think after that,
I wouldn't do men's physique. Yeah, I'm not going to put board shorts on.
Men's physique. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
And some of those guys have the genetics to actually do, but just were they lazy? They don't want to do legs. I don't get it.
I don't. And some of them, their legs are decent too.
Yeah,
you're
right.
I don't get why. Maybe they just don't want to get too big.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, listen, if you're a 6 foot something person, you're I'd rather not be 300 something pounds. It's when you're not bodybuilding, walking around at 300 pounds, it wins you,
Yeah.
My heaviest was 260, and I'm 6 foot
See,
something.
that guy that took first, he looks like he could. I mean, that's the taper on that screen.
Yeah.
These guys are crazy. What was this? This was the Olympia.
I mean, I can't see their quads, obviously, but
so these are the best guys.
Right. But any one of these guys probably could do, but they might actually do it after this. But if they already attempted to do, bodybuilding, then I feel like, it's, I don't give a shit, but it's looked at oh, you couldn't do that, so get the next best thing.
Why board shorts?
I don't know. It looks so bad.
What if you just showed up in cargo shorts or capri pants? You think capri pants are really frowned upon?
Yeah. It's, the whole board short thing is kind of weird. Although, I mean, what are we talking about? In fucking bodybuilding, you wear underpants, so.
See, these are, I mean, that guy over to the flat, decent, bad,
great.
6 weeks out. The guy at the end looks like he's, I mean, that guy's several weeks out. That guy was not ready to step on stage.
No.
I like that his cock is just leaking down the left side. You can tell. Look at that.
Well, he wins that competition.
Yeah, he's got cock.
Yeah, that's...
other black guys got cock.
Yeah.
Weird Filipino guys made sure he got baggy.
See, they're all smiling except for the guy all the way to the right.
Why?
Well, because he does I don't have to put on a show. I got a big dick. I'm good. They're all just like, hey.
I mean, he looks like a overage stripper. He looks like a guy that still strips and stuff. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna just eat chicken for 3 weeks.
Do you remember the guy from back in the day when you were doing...
That guy?
Yeah.
No, he didn't strip with me. The one guy that I stripped with beat me in the lightweight at the Nationals, and then he died a year later.
Really? I was going to ask if you... That's crazy. I was going to ask if you like ever bumped into like old strippers that you...
I never see... There's one guy I still talk to, Johnny Thor.
Okay.
And he must be 60 now, and he's still running cycles.
Wow.
And he was a pimp. He was like one of the original strippers in Canada. He was huge and jacked. Used to pimp this girl out, made all this money. Then he started smoking crack, then he went to jail. Then he went to jail again for driving with a suspended license. And I took his girlfriend at the time to visit him. And I remember going into the jail to visit him. And it was not fun. This was a prison, not a jail. West Detention Center in Toronto. And I was like, oh, this does not look like a fun place.
Right.
And then he got out, and I used to help him run drugs, run some weed back in the day. And then he was shredded all year round. This guy would never cheat on his birthday. He'd take a bite of cake and go spit it out.
Wow.
That's how intense Johnny was, and natural, shredded natural at that point. And then recently, I talked to him about a year ago. He goes, bro, doctor told me I could do tests. I got the sip. And then he went from sip to adding Deca and Winstrol.
Okay.
And then he goes, the doctor told me my numbers are all fucked. I gotta get off. So he went off, and he's like, I don't have the motivation to train. And he did this once before, years ago, where he relapsed and started smoking crack. And I went and saw him. And I go, dude, I do stand-up now. Watch this thing. And then he called me. He goes, I watched your stand-up. It fucking inspired me. I want to get back in the gym. So now he's like, doctor told me I can't run another cycle. And now he's like, I got a mix. He's got a mix of, there's Masterone in it, there's Tren, and there's something else. It's like a blend.
Yeah, they do blends and stuff. But he's one of these guys that you said were in shape prior to even doing any steroids.
No, he used to do roids back in the day.
Okay.
And then he found a way by just dieting. I mean, he was obsessive about it.
But that's what always pissed me off when you see guys like, who are like, oh, I thought you were on something. And then they go on something and it's like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah. He got out of jail and 1 day later, won the Mr. Toronto middleweight.
Wow.
Like out of jail, on a jail diet. And was probably getting butt fucked in jail.
Probably.
Yeah, not with his approval.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And then, so now he's back on, and he's like, I'm never coming off. Like, he's just one of those guys that's going to ride it till he died. We had another friend that we used to strip with. He was a pro. This guy's name was Mario Carrier. Can you Google Mario Carrier, IFBB Pro?
Carrier.
It's Carrier. It's French.
Oh, okay.
Carrier. And he started taking insulin growth, and he died. But the guy that beat me in the Canada, he died, heart attack, like a year after the contest. He had a really good physique, but he had bitch tits and he had no calves. That's him. That's Golden Eagle.
Let me see.
That was the one with the red trunks, I think, is where he turned pro.
This is a big dude.
Yeah, he was. Wow. And so when I first...
It's like a Dorian Yates physique right there, almost.
When I first walked into the strip club where I stripped at, it was him and Johnny Thor. So that's Milos Sarkis.
Yeah.
But Mario looked great. He was, dude, rest in peace, Mario. He was, look at the bitch tits coming. He was gay for pay. So there'd be these guys. And I walked in. See if you could find a picture of Johnny Thor. male stripper.
The obituary photo that I saw, the little one, it seemed like he had been off a cycle for a while. So was it the gear? Probably, right?
Johnny said it was, and also I think he roofied my friend Johnny. I think he went over to his house and he was like, try this. And Johnny fell asleep. And then he's like, I woke up, my ass was sore.
It's pretty dark lifestyle. Have you ever been to jail before?
I was in like jail, not prison. I
Okay.
was locked up for a night. Let's see if Johnny Thor. That's not Johnny Thor.
No, that guy's gyno.
Thor.
A lot of gyno.
Boy, that guy. No, Johnny Thor. That might have been no. I mean, that might have been him in the day. That might have because he had a hairpiece for a while. Because he had a disease that made him go bald. Oh. But Johnny was like, had a long blonde wig. You could tell it was a wig.
Yeah.
So when I walked into the strip club the first night, I heard like these two really gruff voices like, hey, Mary, come over here. Show me your ass, Mary. And it was Mario and Johnny, and they're smoking joint. They're both naked, pulling their dicks, getting ready to go on stage. And I remember I had to work on a gay night, and they did a shower show together.
Yeah.
Where you're like, if you didn't know, you're like, oh, these are two gay guys.
Right.
Like, and he'd be like, hey, Mary, eat my ass. Like, it was a big joke to these guys.
Right.
And it was the most intimidating thing. And I walked into that change room, and the guy that beat me in the Canadas was there, and he goes, yo, man, you look familiar. And I was like, oh, why are you talking like that? You're Asian. And he goes, yo, you compete or something? I go, yeah, I did the TIP in 94. He goes, yeah, man, all right. And then it was so weird I was the only Jew that worked there. There's not a lot of Jew male strippers.
Well, that's like one of those, odd jobs for a Jew. It's like one of those dark kind of. You're like, oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
It's one like I thought I was a black sheep in my family for doing fitness, but that's a little different.
Yeah, fitness you can get by because you're working with rich people.
Right.
Affluent. I remember I was a trainer, and then I made enough money. I got a BMW, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's doing well."
Right.
Yeah. It was fucking great, man.
Yeah. But I was thinking, should we segue into our guest because speaking of off the beaten path, kind of.
Is he ready?
I don't know. Yeah. No. Let me see what we got here.
All right. Well, let's do the intro and then we'll bring him.
Yeah. All right.
We have a very special guest today. Tell us about him. Gangster to the oldest of old school dudes, man. I checked some of this stuff out that you sent to me. Yeah. In a time prior to the Italian mafia.
Yeah.
There was a Jewish mafia.
There was. You had Meyer Lansky and Bugsy Siegel and what are the other ones?
Rothstein.
Now
this made me think, was Eighth Rothstein a real guy from the movie Casino? Because they said there was like an Al Rothstein or something.
Yeah. There was a Rothstein, and do you remember the show Boardwalk Empire?
Yeah, but I never watched it.
Okay, so the actual Rothstein from like the 1920s, he was featured. Someone played him, but his whole deal was he wasn't like on the street like whacking people kind of thing, but he was like fixing, like horse betting things.
Yeah.
He was a pretty badass. But Meyer Lansky was actually on the street, like he was a street level.
Yeah.
Same thing with Bugsy Siegel. They were on the street cracking skulls. They weren't fucking around. So like, and it was a time where Jews worked with Italians. Ironically, some of them, they're some women married into like Italian families, and there's half Italian, half Jewish mobsters.
Nice.
Eventually, actually, they used to say they have to be 100% Sicilian to be made. And then they changed that after a while because a lot of these Italian guys were marrying Jewish women.
broads.
Right. So you have like a half Jewish, half Italian guy, and he's like, I want to be made. I'm earning.
What's he smoking?
Oh, wow. He's dressed to the nines.
Yeah.
Look at this guy.
That's how you got to dress.
Oh, my God. I need to get a suit like that.
The Mob Museum. You don't need a suit like that. I think it's a bad idea.
Oh, okay.
Horrible idea. All right. But our guest today comes all the way from New Jersey. He's Zooming with us right now. Please welcome.
Myron Sugerman.
What a great name.
Excellent.
Hey, Myron, how are you? We're going to roll in a second. Are you ready?
Couple of good-looking gangsters.
Good. You got a cough or something?
Got a what?
Do you need the cough before we go?
A cough?
Yeah.
I need more than cough. I need I need another. I need a guarantee of another at least 30 years.
All right. Let's see what we can do. All right,
That's
we're
right.
gonna roll.
That's right. Reach out to somebody.
Myron, so good to have you here. This is Myron Sugerman. I'm Jordan Rosengarten. This is Aaron Berg.
Hey, Byron, how are you?
Good guys. How are you fellas doing?
You look great. A young whippersnapper on the come up. How's life?
Isn't that something?
Yeah, you look good.
Guys, what are we going to talk about today? What do we want to
First of all, let's start nice and light.
What do we want to address and resolve?
Why do you still get to wear the hats from the heyday? Do you still feel good wearing those hats? Because they look phenomenal.
It's a trademark. I've been wearing it. I've been wearing it for years and years.
I saw you in an interview the other day. You had a Magen David on your chest. You wear it all the time?
Oh, I got more than just a Magen David. Hang on one second.
It's all
I got
out.
at least 9 or 10 symbols so that anybody has any doubts whatsoever about my connection to being Jewish. I want to make sure that they don't make any mistake whatsoever.
Beautiful.
I got them all. Got about 9 or 10.
That's great. You get everything
And
there.
I've had these long before my bar mitzvah. I started to add them as I would travel. I'd pick up one here, pick up one there. But we got more things, I'm sure, some really life-threatening issues that we need to be talking about.
I got it. Tell us how you got into the gangster lifestyle. When did it start? How old were you? How did it start?
I found out the day of my brit milah, of my circumcision, that my father was connected.
Nice.
All right? That's how early in the game I found out where we came from. My father was part of Newark. He was born in Newark, 1900. He was a terrific guy, very classy, Prohibition. Then went into after Prohibition ended, he was tied up with the bosses of Jersey. The bosses of Jersey were Longies Willman. I don't know if you fellas ever heard the name. Abner Longies Willman was the equal with Meyer Lansky.
Okay.
Matter of fact, Meyer Lansky used to come with his brother Jake and with Benny Siegel to Newark to meet with the two bosses of Newark, Abner Longies Willman and Joseph Doc Thatcher. Unless you came from Newark, New Jersey, you would have not known the name Longie. However, if you go to there is a book about him. He didn't neither he nor Doc really looked for the limelight. The one that, of course, the iconic individual of the Jewish mob was Meyer. But they were equal. Equal meaning we didn't have a hierarchy. We're not Italian. It's not like the Italians where they have Godfather and the
Consigliere.
Consigliere and the
Underboss.
underboss and so forth, and captains and lieutenants and soldiers and so forth. That we were one generation. And except I was a rarity because I was really born and raised in the world of jukeboxes, gaming devices, pinball machines, arcade equipment, slot machines, and so forth. And when I graduated Bucknell University in 1959, about 5 days I was home and my father says, would you like to start an export business of selling equipment overseas? This was 14 years after the end of World War II. And there was a demand for equipment all over the world. And I jumped at the opportunity. September 5th, 1959, 3 months later, he gave me $3,000 in traveler's checks. He said, don't rush to come home. Go ahead, create a market and get rid of all the equipment in the warehouses and so forth. I did a 9-nation 3-month trip, and the dollar was powerful, so powerful that I stayed in Europe for 3 months, lived at the best hotels, ate in the best food, entertained, lived at customers' homes and so forth. I came home with half the money. I came home with $1,500.
Very Jewish. Good job.
And I sold my father's warehouses over and over 10 times. And of course, after 3 months at 21 years of age, being in Europe, I was addicted to international travel. I had studied political science. I spoke languages. And of course, today I speak a lot more languages than the languages that I learned when I was in school. And I became international. I became very much international. And then over the years, 1970, Meyer Lansky's organization was connected with Bally Manufacturing Company. And they were setting up slot machine operations in third world nations.
Great business. You know why? Cash, right?
Well, gambling, of course, cash. Yeah. It was a dream.
Now, the Jews were not the only people to go into the pinball business and the coin-operated business, right? You had competition from the Italians and from the Russian mob once they came to light in the 80s, correct?
You're jumping ahead.
Okay.
You're moving a little too fast.
I know you like to stay where you are.
Yeah, well, sure. I want to give it to you chronologically.
Okay.
So, in 1970, the organization consisting of Dino Cellini, who was the foremost casino operator in the world, and others that were part of that whole world, made a deal with a couple of gangsters from Beirut, Lebanon, to run slot machines in Nigeria.
Yeah.
There was a large Lebanese expatriate community in Nigeria, and I got a phone call. You want to go to Nigeria? Here's an opportunity. And this was 6 months after the infamous Biafran War. So, I was always full of adventure, and it was fine. I liked the idea. I went to Nigeria, and I learned how to really be a slot machine operator from the Arabs. They were clever, very, very clever. They were fabulous. So, notwithstanding the fact, of course, that I am a revisionist Zionist, a follower of Jabotinsky, revisionist Zionist Jew.
To explain to our audience what revisionist Zionist means.
Well, it's the hard right of center political movement in Israel, and it is the guiding light today of Israeli politics. It's Bibi's father, Benjamin Ben-Zion Netanyahu, was the secretary to the founding father of the revisionist Zionist movement, Vladimir Zev Jabotinsky.
I have a question. Don't be distracted that I'm distracted. My brother calls me from Miami last night, and he goes, someone said that Bibi got shot and killed. And then I just saw a video that Bibi's alive. What is your take on it?
Yeah, you can say it to you in Yiddish, which is Narishkeit. I can say it to you in Hebrew, which is Steroids, which is nonsense.
Nonsense. Okay, good. I feel better. I like him as a leader. He's in the running for Badass Jew of the Year, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, now you mentioned Bibi, but he is a direct descendant of the revisionist Zionist movement. His father was secretary to Jabotinsky.
Yeah.
And his father was an esteemed professor at Cornell University of Jewish History. Bibi was raised in a home together with his brother, who was the hero at Entebbe, in a very hard right revisionist Zionist home. So whatever you see today that's going on in Israel and Israeli politics and so forth is a result of following the doctrine of the Iron Wall.
Yeah.
Which I strongly recommend to everybody who's interested to know about Israeli politics. You go to Google and you look up the doctrine of the Iron Wall, 1923 by Jabotinsky. There's no compromise as far as defense is concerned. And what you're watching and what we're all seeing today, as far as the Middle East is concerned, is an implementation of the doctrine of the revisionist Zionist movement.
Of course.
All right. So So, okay, so I learned the gambling machine business, getting back to that. I really learned it real well from street operating from the Arabs. When I came home, they bought back the business and they begged me to stay, and I I loved them, but I told them I couldn't stay.
No, why would you want to stay there?
It was wonderful.
Come on. What'd you like the most about it? The women?
No, not at all.
The gold? Everything is made of gold?
No. To understand Africa in 1970,
Yeah.
and to be together with the Arabs, and to be respected by everybody,
Yeah.
because I conducted myself. I was a proud Jew and conducted myself. There was no nonsense. I ran a real good ship.
Good.
It was a free world. If there was no such thing. Yes, of course, there was law that was carried forth from the time of the British Commonwealth, but you gave everybody a gift, and everything was taken care of. It was just freedom, complete freedom.
Yeah.
If you ran over somebody, I never ran anybody, but if somebody got hit in an automobile accident, it had a price. Everything I get resolved with a sit down with the chief.
How much was it when you had to pay after you hit somebody with the car?
I never had that. Thank God, I never had that experience.
Wink. I like it.
It was a free world. It was a free world, and it added. Listen, I traveled 70 countries. I speak a half a dozen languages. I understand people's cultures, religions, mindset, and so forth. It was a fabulous life. It was very. It was adventurous. It was a learning, and as well, I balanced it by virtue of the fact that I'm a Chabad guy. I'm connected to Chabad. I'm a student of all Jewish history and Jewish theology.
When you're in Africa, are you armed? Are you traveling with security? Is it just you? Are there any issues? Anybody trying to come up and take part of what's yours?
No.
Okay.
Never once had that. Never had that problem. Never. As long as you knew how to talk to people, and you know how to, the expressions in West Africa, it's called, particularly in Nigeria, it's called dash, D-A-S-H. It's a form of a gift, a bribe, a payoff. As long as you know how to manipulate with money, you're a king.
Beautiful. And
we had hundreds and hundreds of slot machines running all over the country. And they believe it or not, as poor as the mass population was, they used to fight to get to a slot machine. There used to be fist fights as to who was running, who was operating the slot machine. In fact, there were guys waiting so anxiously to play the slot machine. The places were packed that there was bookies that were taking action on whether watermelons were going to come up or apples on the next roll.
Wow.
That's amazing.
It was exciting. It was an exciting world, guys.
So you deal with gambling on one level. What else comes into your world? Anything, obviously, like you're in a time after Prohibition, so alcohol's not necessarily a thing, but you came from a timeline where it was. What about guns?
That's exactly what happened after 1933 and the end of Prohibition. By the way, we didn't talk about the Jewish mob in Newark, which was the formidable Minutemen that fought the American Nazi Party throughout all of New Jersey.
Tell us.
Oh, that was the battleground. Fritz Kuhn was the self-declared Adolf Hitler of the United States of America, and he installed himself in Newark, New Jersey, without an appeal to a large population of anti-Semites, as well as the immigrants that were coming from Austria and from Germany after the defeat of the Kaiser Wilhelm and the Habsburg empire of Austro-Hungary of 1918. So Fritz Kuhn in the 30s emerged as the self-declared Hitler. And they used to hold rallies in Irvington, Union, Newark. And afterwards, they would go into the Jewish neighborhood in the Third Ward and start beating up Jews.
Yeah.
And there was a resistance, quite a resistance. It's called an organization called the Minutemen, a book that was written by a dear friend of mine called Nazis in Newark by Warren Grover. I took him around. I introduced him to all my father's friends. And I told him, please tell the story. I need Warren Grover. Is going to write a great story. He's going to write the history. And the story is that every time that the Nazis would have their meetings, the Jews knew about it because Longy not only was the mob boss, he was the political boss. We had the mayor was a Jewish mayor. The cops, the police, the judges, the system was completely controlled by the Jews, so that we knew that where the Nazis were going to be meeting and rallying. So before they had a chance to leave their beer hall, our guys were there with stink bombs, and when the Nazis would come running out, their heads got reshaped by baseball bats. They got the worst beating in the world. And then Meyer Lansky, there was a judge in New York by the name of Nathan Perlman. And he said to Meyer Lansky, I need you to do the same thing in New York, up in Yorkville, what your pal Abe Zwillman is doing in Jersey. And Meyer Lansky agreed to do it. Nathan Perlman says, listen, I'll cover for you with the newspapers and so forth, but you can't commit any homicide. And Lucky Luciano at that time was said to Meyer Lansky, I'll give you all my guys that you need. And Meyer Lansky says, thank you, Lucky. This is a Jewish problem. It's going to be resolved with Jewish fists.
Wow.
And they beat the shit out of Fritz Kuhn and his whole crowd and all those Nazi bastards up in Yorkville.
Now, who would be the modern day equivalent of the American Hitler? Would you think it would be somebody that has an online presence like a Nick Fuentes, or would it be a political figure?
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. The guy that's dangerous is Tucker Carlson.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He's dangerous. He's a Hitler. Is he a Hitler? He's more like a Joseph Goebbels. Goebbels was the propaganda minister under Hitler. But for all intents and purposes, you could say Tucker Carlson, because he has an enormous influence over the minds of idiots.
Yeah.
And he says whatever the hell he wants to say. And I'm waiting for Trump to really shove his foot down Carlson's throat, because he's dangerous.
Myron, I need to see your face more. Your face.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Go
perfect.
ahead.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Okay.
What happened after these beatdowns of Nazis? Did it start to calm these Nazis down? Did they start to dissipate in Jersey?
They continued until 1939. You'll go to YouTube, you will see in Madison Square Garden, there was a rally of Nazis. 25,000 showed up.
Big rally. It's huge. There's never been a rally this big in Madison Square Garden before. Remember that? Remember Trump said that? Yeah.
Yep. So the everything ended with Japan bombing Pearl Harbor December 7th, 1941. But also at the same time, the United States government, they hit Fritz Kuhn with some kind of bullshit corruption charges or tax evasion, something, just to get rid of him. They locked him up, and he stayed locked up until after the war. Then they finally released him. So at that point, they started the Nazi Party was losing its effect. But you have to understand that the anti-Semitism, the Jew hatred, was pervasive all over the United States. And the Jew mobs throughout Chicago, Minneapolis, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Detroit, they were everywhere where you either had brown shirts, which was the American Nazi Party, or you had silver shirts, that was headed up by a guy by the name of God, I can't think of his name right now, but it'll come to me. Some idiot from North Carolina, from Asheville, North Carolina. He had an organization called Silver Shirts, America First, all that nonsense.
Yeah.
And you had the mob in Minneapolis and St. Paul, which was a strong Jewish mob, and they beat the shit out of that silver shirts. And interesting story, you had in Chicago the great Barney Ross. He was a Triple Crown prize fighter and a hero at Guadalcanal. In the 1930s, they beat up the anti-Semites, whether it was the brown shirts, the silver shirts, or whatever, or the Ku Klux Klan, or whoever it was. They took them on in the 30s. Now, there was a gentleman there that when I tell everybody the name, they don't know who I'm talking about. Jacob Rubinstein was one of the heroes.
Yeah.
So people say, "Who's Jacob Rubinstein?" That's Jack Ruby. Jack Ruby was a Jewish hero.
Yeah.
And then eventually Jack Ruby went down to Chicago, went from Chicago to Dallas. But he was in Chicago. That's where he comes from, his origins, Chicago. He was a hero. So anyways, that ended with World War II, the declaration of World War II. When Roosevelt declared World War II, 2 days or 3 days later, the Axis of Japan and Italy and Germany, and the Axis, Germany and Italy responded by declaring war against the United States of America, which we needed. We needed for them to declare war so that we could go to war to get rid of the depression.
Yeah.
All right, that Roosevelt looked at that from a point of view, get rid of the effects of the depression, which we were still living through from 1932, 33.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but so I have a question. You were talking about all these historical Nazis, American Nazis that would cause trouble in these towns, and then you'd have the Jewish mob kind of counterattacking. What do we feel like nowadays? Like the scope of anti-Semitism, you have a lot of people who are kind of saying the same things. It's more online than in person, but it's still there. What would your guys back of that era? How would they respond to something like this?
Well, they did. I mean, we don't have to speculate or guess. They took baseball bats, they organized, and they beat the shit out of the anti-Semites, and they were effective.
Yeah.
However, the anti-Semitism of the 30s was horrible. You had Henry Ford, Joseph Kennedy, you had Father Coughlin, and Charles Lindbergh.
Berg, yeah.
The four major anti-Semites of the United States at that time, and Father Coughlin from Michigan, he was spread a lot of poison, but thank God, the whole thing dissipated, and we went to war in America at that point. There was no question of we're going to go to war. We were attacked. We were attacked by Japan, so that that Roosevelt could say we have to. And now the Axis has joined forces with Japan, and so we have to. So there was patriotism. I was a kid growing up during World War II. The spirit of America, my God Almighty, nothing today compares with it.
Myron,
Nothing.
we got 5 minutes left. We got some important questions for you.
Sure.
With anti-Semitism today, you got people driving cars into synagogues. You got people shooting up synagogues. Is the war with Iran a good way to solve this, or is it increasing anti-Semitism? And if so, what do we do about that?
Two separate issues. One, we have to fight the war in Iran.
Yes.
You have to destroy them. Secondly, we have to suffer the consequences of growing anti-Semitism as a result of the war.
So we have to suffer the consequences.
Unfortunately, yes.
And is there a way to fight back, or we just put our heads down and deal with the shit?
Excellent question. I really don't know the answer to that. I think that, I think that the intensity of Jew hatred is going to increase as the price of gasoline goes higher.
Yeah.
What's your next question?
Next question. What charges were you ever thrown at you, and did any of them stick?
Yeah, I had 3 state cases and 3 federal cases. I did federal time. I did 2 years.
RICO charges?
Actual fact is, they just knew that I was somebody of a celebrity nature in terms of my relationship to organized crime, because I was the major supplier of gambling devices for illegal purposes to the Cubans, to the Dominicans, to the Armenians, to the Albanians, to the Italians, to the Russians, to the so forth and so forth. So they just said it's time to put this guy to jail. That's all. He's a nice guy, by the way. Myron Sugerman is a nice guy. Helped Simon Wiesenthal, the very famous Nazi hunter. I was his man for 40 years in South America. He's a wonderful man, but we have to put him in jail.
First thing you do on the day that you get out of federal time, what do you do to celebrate?
I ate a lox and bagel sandwich.
Nice. Where'd you get it?
My wife brought it up to Allenwood Federal Prison Camp. I ate it on the way home.
Yeah. Perfect. Any regrets about your life?
A million regrets, but you don't live with your regrets.
No.
You know that you have regrets, but you have to stay positive right to the end, because you put it on balance, and you're a human being. You make mistakes, but the most important thing is you total up all the good things that you've done in your lifetime, and if you don't need anybody to tell you if you did good things or not. You know it yourself, and as well as you know when you screwed up.
Favorite fighting move, hand-to-hand combat?
Pardon?
Favorite fighting move, hand-to-hand combat?
What about it?
What was your favorite one? A punch to the throat, a palm to the nose, a headlock?
Anything that neutralizes the enemy. Anything. If you're small, pepper spray. If you got a gun, don't use a gun. This is not. You don't want to go to. You don't want to go to jail for the rest of your life.
No.
Right? No. But if you're attacked, if you got pepper spray, that's damn good. It's a good defense to them. And then run. If you're small, you can't beat the guy.
The biggest light in your life from being Jewish. What's the biggest gift you have from being Jewish?
Being born a Jew is the greatest gift from heaven.
Yeah.
If you're born a Jew, you have to feel. If you don't feel, I feel sorry for you. But in the conclusion, and as far as life is concerned, is that I was very, very fortunate to be born a Jew. It's a fantastic people. It's an incredible people. All right.
What was the food at your bris? Do you remember?
If I remember, I was 8 days old. Well, let me think about it.
I know. Me too.
I know. I have it written down somewhere. All right.
I think there was. I think they had egg salad, pumpernickel. I remember looking at the food and I was like, "When am I going to get that?" Oh, my schmeckle! I remember yelling, "My schmeckle!"
There you go. There you go.
He's so hard to break.
That's the proof. That's the covenant right there. All right. That is the covenant.
Jordan, final question for Myron.
Yeah, you kind of answered it, but I want, I guess that's the answer I wanted to hear. But so you don't condone violence, obviously, but there's got to be something that Jewish, kids can do to combat the rising anti-Semitism that they're seeing in schools and online.
Oh, I'll tell you, no. If you could take every Jewish kid and make them look like you two guys, all right, then that's the right solution.
I 100% agree.
There's two things. It's muscle and brain. So if somebody develops muscle, listen. My son was in the U.S. Army. He went into the U.S. military. I would say he was a nice kid. He decided one day that he wanted to become a member of the U.S. military voluntary service. He went in. When he came out, my God Almighty, he won awards for jumping out of airplanes, for beating cap Rangers in U.S. Rangers and all kinds of physical. It was just a fantastic. And now once you you have achieved all of that, you carry yourself differently.
Right.
It's a hell of a, when I go to shul on Shabbat and the little kids come up, I say, okay, give me a handshake. And they gave you a dead fish.
Yeah.
I say, you know what? You're not sitting on this side of the mechitza today. Get on the other side. You're going to sit with women. All right? Because as long as you're going to shake hands like a woman, get the hell over the other side. Our kids don't even know how to shake hands.
Yeah.
They don't even know how to look in your eye. They don't even know how to say thank you, how are you, and so forth. All right? Yes, of course, they know religion. They know their study. They're good students. It's not enough.
They got a gross set of balls.
The Israelis got the right solution.
Right.
Myron, what can we promote for you? Where can people find you? Is there anything that you're promoting?
Well, I promote nothing. I'm an old man. I'm going to be going out. I'm going to one day get a phone call or it's a call from heaven, and get on that boat that's going to take you to the other side of the river. I want to leave behind a hope that I can look from heaven above and see tough Jews, patriotic Jews, proud Jews, not these stupid Jews with all of their wealth and all their success and their professions and so forth that will vote for and support the political enemies of the Jewish people.
Beautiful.
If they don't break that, if they don't distance themselves, they don't separate from that, then their children are destined to be no longer Jews. They're going to wind up being Muslims and paying the jizya tax, which is the tax that infidels pay to the Muslims.
Got it. Well, Myron, thank you so much. This was great. I really appreciate it.
You've done a mitzvah. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, guys.
Today.
You're gonna send me a copy of this, huh?
You got it.
Yes.
Lots of love.
And then we get together one day and we go eat. Huh?
Please.
Let's do it.
Let's do
I love
it.
that.
All the best, boys.
All right,
Thanks
take
so
care.
much.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
That was Myron Sugerman. This has been Badass Jews. We'll see you next week.
From iron wombs our fathers, dust breeze ancient agony, a covenant of